After months of waiting, Republicans in the House of Representatives released their budget on Thursday. And it does exactly what each and every one of us expected it to do. This budget, put forward by Republicans, which of course has to be approved within the next couple weeks before we hit a government shutdown, robs from the poor to give to the rich. The 2017 tax cut package that Republicans passed during the first year of Donald Trump's first administration is expiring this year. And the number one priority for these Republicans, as they have said multiple times in interview, is to get that tax cut package extended. But analysts have shown that that tax cut package would cost $4.5 trillion over the next 10 years to be extended. So there's been a lot of budget fighting, right? Some Republicans say, hey, if we're going to add $4.5 trillion to the debt, we need to cut other programs. And it's long been rumored, of course, based on what Republicans have said during interviews, that they want to cut social safety net programs, education programs, environmental protections, health care. And by God, this new budget does literally every single bit of that. Let me read you some of this. Based on various proposals, 36 million people or more could be at risk of losing health coverage through Medicaid, and more than 40 million people could receive less help from SNAP to buy groceries, millions of them potentially losing their food assistance altogether. About 5 million undergraduate students a year use federal student loans to pay for college, and many are at risk of higher costs to go to college given the cuts assigned to the Education and Workforce Committee. Millions of borrowers no longer in school could also be at risk for higher loan costs. So right off the bat, we're looking at 81 million Americans who are going to be facing more financial hardship under this proposal just so we can give more money to wealthy people. And it gets worse. In addition to taking food assistance and health coverage away from people who need it, the budget plan could result in enormous cost shifts to state, local, territorial, and tribal governments, which are already facing tougher fiscal conditions than in recent years. And when they can't meet those higher costs, the impacts on those people and families will be severe. Outside of the reconciliation parts of the bill, which is what those parts were, the budget blueprint calls for significant additional unspecified cuts, including cuts to the part of the budget that funds K-12 education, Pell Grants for college students, medical research, transportation and flight safety at a time when airplanes are falling out of the damn sky, clean air and water projects are being cut, and customer service at the Social Security Administration and the IRS. So if you have a problem with not receiving your Medicare payment or you have a problem with your taxes, you're not going to get anybody on the phone to resolve your issue. Also, we can give the wealthy more money each year so that they pay less in taxes. Sure, poor people could starve to death. Elderly people could die of diseases that would have been easily preventable had they had their Medicare or Medicaid coverage. But the wealthy need more money. Now let me pose it to you this way. These 2017 tax cuts have now been in place for 8 years. 8 years, these tax cuts, every year, the wealthy are paying less. So let me ask you, in the last 8 years, how's your personal financial situation doing? Right? You better off than you were in 2017? Do you have more money in savings? Right? Do you own more property than you did back then? Does your dollar go further than it did back then? Have you gotten significant raises year after year because of the tax cut for the last 8 years? Because Republicans specifically told us that would happen. So I'm asking you, the viewer, hopefully Republicans stumbled upon this. Did any of those things that I described, even one of them, did any of them happen for you? The answer for the vast majority of people in this country is no, it actually didn't. So I want everybody to stop and think for a second about what these tax cuts have done for you. Now, if you're a member of the 1% watching this, you can rattle off a whole list of crazy things that the tax cuts have done for you. For example, you're now allowed to write off the entire cost of a private jet purchase. But I don't think the average person out there on food stamps is worried too much about the cost of private jets. I don't think the average Medicare or Social Security recipient is worried about how they're going to pay for their next private jet. They're more worried about how they're going to pay for their cancer treatment once Republicans pass this budget. People will die, but that is a price Republicans are willing to pay to make sure that both they themselves and their wealthy donors get to keep more of their money every year. Money that, regardless of what Republicans tell you, will not be trickling down to you. Thanks for watching today, everybody. And don't forget, if you're not already, please do subscribe to this channel. We have fresh content going up every single day, and I would really hate for you to miss out on that. And speaking of missing out, if you're not following me across all other social media outlets, then get on it. You can follow the links in the description of this video.